they get to do that as we bring up the map veto?
Millenium has been, I think, the undisputed best French team in the world over the last little while.
Yeah.
Victory in, DreamHack Austin, good results everywhere they need to. Bit of a disappointing result, losing to G2 in the very first round of the quarterfinals in Paris, in their home country. A bit disappointing there for them, but we'll head to Villa, of all places, and this will be really interesting to watch. Now, Vitality, I can't remember how many times we've said this, probably dozens upon dozens, a very precise team. They'll usually drone 2, 3, 4, 5 times before they actually commit. That old measure 18 times, cut once style of deal. But they've actually picked things up a little bit, and they've been playing a bit more aggressively now, which I think has caught some teams off guard. And I think even Fabian in G2 noted that he's used to Vitality being a lot slower, and they even picked up their pace a little bit against G2.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely worth noting that on a map like Villa, you are going to need to be a lot more aggressive. We'll pull up the community vote. I'll continue to talk about that. Vitality have played on Villa once before this season. It was against Market, and they lost that 4-6 very much earlier in the season. I think it was against the... yes. Now, equally, Millenium have played it once, but they drew against Secret, which is a better result than a loss. And so we've seen mixed results for both teams. Well, not mixed results. We've seen not great results for both teams on Villa so far this season.
I mean, Villa is still very much a map where teams are finding themselves. It hasn't seen as much play as, except for the last couple months. Since last, I think, a month or two is when Villa has really seen its pick rate spike. It was only a dash or two of Villa in the first half of the season, and then Paris Major happened, and it really seemed to break open from that part. Saw it a lot at DreamHack Montreal, and now we have it here on display. As Vitality is going to get first ban, they start on defense, and they will ban Lion. What a surprise.
I am shocked.
An operator that is banned more often than he isn't. Unsurprising to see him removed from action. And also not a surprise against a team that plays usually as methodical as Vitality, losing a pretty big part of your arsenal. Now, let's keep in mind that Millenium played this map against Cloud9, and a big portion of why they succeeded in the latter half of that matchup was that they brought out the Lion and started employing a full-blown rush strat against Cloud9, and that was really when Millenium seemed to find their footing. Not a surprise to see Vitality take Lion out, irrespective of that, but even more so given the way that Millenium plays around the operator.
Millenium also going to ban Glass, so that does play into the Vitality playstyle. The slow and methodical, when you need to actually get that push underway, Glass can be a huge help in that endeavor. Paul's the final ban after Echo also gets taken out, and these will be your banned operators. Paul's making a lot of sense on a map like Villa. So much potential for him to do damage to the attackers, and he just will be denied all of that outright by not being allowed to play. So, Vitality, where will they go first is the question. Aviator is the typical first bomb site for most teams on this map, though we have seen some teams opt for Trophy as their primary before in the past. Millenium have chosen to bring 2 hard destructors, no Habana. It's kind of interesting considering how many impact trick opportunities there are on this map. They'll have to use that Thermite wisely, along with the Maverick, if they want to make the hard destruction work in their favor.
Very interested to see how Amira will play out here, as it's not common that she gets unbanned in this level of play. Yeah, in addition to a Maestro. So both of those operators working in conjunction with one another, as we'll head to Aviator Games as the default site. Typically, where we will see teams start on this particular map, often aided by Amira, giving a lot of control to you over study and being able to watch those peripherals of the site, and or peripheries of the site, rather. And some nice joint. Oh, it was so close to being perfectly synchronized. It's always nice when we see that happen. Usually you have the mirror go down in games room, which is where you see it on the wall there, guarding study. It means that usually attackers have to be a bit more, what would be the word for it? A bit more prepared, and usually have to diversify the way that they attack, because you can't just funnel in through study, because a lot of people are going to be expecting that. Usually you'll see somebody probably going through Master or through Bathroom, and then head through Trophy/Statuary. That's usually the way you see it. And then you'll take control of 90 and then have somebody work towards Games Room while this assault on Study happens. The one thing that Millenium will have that we can keep an eye on is Aces playing on that Maverick. Aces, one of the best entry fraggers in all of Europe that we've seen over the last little while, who's been able to single-handedly carry games. Not too different from what we saw of Chaos in the last match. With that Maverick, he's going to be able to go in, take a lot of ground away from the defenders, and then be able to open things up with just one single blowtorch and get a nice line of sight with that.
Yeah. Versatile operator if used properly in that Maverick. Well, Millenium's just slowly clearing. Trying to hunt down the roamers while also attempting to clamp down on the site. There's a lot of ground to cover though, and they're going to start working their way up finally after they feel like they've done a decent amount of that coverage. They're also going to use that buck from downstairs to just force the anchors to move around, to come off of their preferred positions, and to deal with the mirror windows, one of the most important parts of Ryze's job. The flank here from Spark could bear fruit, but Ryze is holding the angle, somehow missing the shot, just inches away from getting a kill onto the Jaeger.
But you have Liven in a position to possibly go for a pinch here. Spark, knowing that he's likely under assault, as you can hear the C75 rattle through the window of that open barricade, Spark will just have to bide his time. But all in all, a pretty good roam as he's able to just continue to let that clock work away. Hicks has been downed, and as the sole hard breacher, as Maverick really doesn't fulfill that role, he'll need to get picked up at some point in order for Millenium to be able to get this execute going in full force. There you go. Hicks will be brought back to life, and it'll end up being a 5v5.
Slow going here. Still, for Millenium. We've seen this before, usually in the earlier rounds of a match. It'll take a while for the first kill to happen. And here it is. Bibu on to Aces, and he will get a bandit trick onto his thermite charge immediately after. A great play for Bibu, holding on to the bar for his team. He will be refragged by Renshiro, but a lot of damage being done there by the bandit, and definitely a great round for him. The grenade from Ryze seemingly missing, just not hitting its mark, certainly not doing any damage to his opponents. And with so little time here for Millenium, that's not a great sight to see. An exchange between Spark and Renshiro will put Millenium in the driver's seat as Renshiro gets yet another kill. Ryze looking for his opportunity to push, but he does not check the pool table corner, and Brid will get a shotgun blast to the face. Rafael also onto Renshiro, leaving just one more Millenium attacker, and Rafael cleans it up. Vitality take round number 1.
And a big round from Vitality as well, just what they needed in order to lock that one down. As we bring it back to us and we say hello. So, Vitality, everything working out the way that they wanted. Being able to try to waste all of Millenium's time, Spark in particular doing an excellent job downstairs. Over 2 minutes off of the clock for that Jaeger alone. Being able to confound 2 separate members of Millenium, and then as Hicks got down to pick back up, that is more clock just falling off, and that plays exactly into Vitality's style of play. Vitality very, very good at managing the time on attack, and on defense it can be a little bit different, because a lot of times on defense you're kind of at the mercy of the attackers to set the tone for you, unless you can get an early pick or two. Didn't happen for Vitality. The first pick came in the final minute of play, but overall, hard to see how that wasn't a pretty big success for Vitality on the one site that they really should be winning. Now, you think second they're probably going to go to either Trophy Statue or down to Kitchen with Mirror available? There's a lot of possibilities for them to be able to try and make a successful defense the second time around.
They can go pretty much anywhere, to be honest, but it looks like they're going to opt for the Trophy bomb site, which makes a whole lot of sense. One thing to note, Bibu moving on to Cav. Why Cav, I hear a lot of you guys asking right now? Well, the answer is quite simple. It's a very open map with lots of places for a roamer to hide in a corner and get a potential interrogation. I mean, we saw in that last round, Millenium, they had people to watch for the flanks, but they also had the people who were doing the job of opening up vertically from below. That's the Buck of Ryze holding his own flank, which opens up an opportunity for a potential interrogation. So that might just be something that Vitality is going to play for in this round, given the Cav pick. Interestingly, they're going to be playing over by Aviator as well. So not just holding on to the trophy, but also extending their way south.
So we can see if Millenium are capable of entering a little bit better, and I mean this really falls to the coordination side of things. Millennium's coordination and entry when they first pick up aces wasn't as good as it had been before. You know, Millenium is maybe not credited as the most aggressive team in the world, but they're certainly a team that is capable of taking up space quickly. That was gone when they picked up aces, and I mean it's strange until they started running a composition that was very much focused on getting in quickly around the Lion, around the Dokkaebi, etc. So it's... Oof. That was a nasty sound as Rise touches his back towards the wall and gets shocked by just a little bit of damage, but not that bad. Bride is going to get the first kill onto aces, and that is damning for Millenium. Losing your Hibana as well as aces that early on, that's majorly detrimental to the way that Millenium is going to play this, and it's going to leave Hicks in a very tough position to try to be the sole hard breacher. Now, on Trophy Statuary, it's not the end of the world because usually you'll be able to get your exothermic charge onto the wall inside of that master bedroom and open things up in towards the statue side of things. And Bride is going to see the wall explode all the way around him. Speaking of, Dokkaebi phone calls going out, and so long to Bride. Great pinch from all of Millenium and using their utility, and then Hicks there to get the kill.
So if you're playing from those middle stairs, he's going to try and just disrupt this push as much as possible. Bibu, as you can see, downstairs looking to potentially flank. If he can get his way over to the study stairs and come up from behind on this attack, he could get an interrogation still. Lots of roamers for Vitality. Clearly the name of the game here. And Bibu's working his way towards his objective. Diffuser has been down, seemingly by the study area. And that actually could be something that, if spotted, could be played off of. But no, Rise will pick it up and start working his way back to the actual objective, while he covers his own flank. That again being what we were talking about earlier, when you don't have someone dedicated to the flank watch, it leaves you vulnerable. And that's something Rise is going to have to deal with on an individual level.
And there's the last phone call that's going to go out. Zofia sounds like her utility might have been bled through as well. Hicks needing to now finally get his first exothermic charge down at 20 seconds. Not the greatest of timing. Bibu will fall to Rise, and waiting to see if the Bandit's going to be able to lay down some fire here. Rafal also watching the door. So Vitality just trying to anchor down the entry points. Zephyr, a great kill on Renshiro. Super live in with one. Rafal tosses out a C4, gets the down and finishes off Hicks. Rise going for the plant, and once again, dire straits for Millenium, as that's 2 rounds in a row that the execute comes just way too late, and Vitality feast on Millenium.
Excellent hold there, despite Bibu's flank being very unsuccessful. As he came up from those study stairs, the Rise, watching his own flank, managed to shut him down. A great job to Rise on that buck, but after that, the actual site push, I mean, it seemed like Millenium was just so distracted by all of the roamers that when they were trying to push into the site, they just couldn't make it work. They also had spent a lot of time trying to clear out and establish where those roamers were, so when they went for the actual master push, it was too little, too late. And the hard destruction was not in the right position, allowing Millenium to get the push into the site and forego those bottlenecks. Just couldn't happen. And I think the solution, of course, for Millenium in that round would have just been to clear from Master a little bit sooner. You know, instead of working at everything all at once as a team, just, you know, if you're going to push Master, put your Thermite to pushing Master. Maybe give him 1 or 2 support staff and make that happen. You know, focus all your efforts on it so that you don't have to do it in the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, very surprising there that it took them that long to get the hard breacher over to the one wall that you would figure they would probably take quite early.
Kitchen, the next site here for Vitality. So we see a full 3 site rotation in the typical order.
Yeah, that living room library downstairs, which we see so few played, you know, or attempts on, defenses on. Hard to really get a pretty good assessment of its strength as a site, given its infrequency in terms of appearances here on Villa. But all said and done, much of this site usually hinges on strong Maestro play. Maestro is banned, so keep that in mind. It's just Vitality really haven't been relying on him, and I mean, why would you when you've got a Mira available? And Mira, who usually does find herself being banned, There's a lot of teams that don't run her even when she remains open because they might not feel as confident in their strats under the presumption that they've built the strats upon Mira being banned. So what ends up happening is teams have to make substitutions. A lot of times Maestro and Echo will fulfill roles similar to Mira in that information gather / intel providing operator slot. Obviously neither of which are as immediate as you find out of Amira. That's looked like a great drone spot there, by the way. You saw that perched all the way up top. Just watching like a hawk over the statuary side of things. Just giving good marks here is now Aces, who was the opening death last time around, doing drone work for the rest of his team.
One thing of note for the Vitality defense is every single time they successfully defend one site, they also they have to move to the next one, right? But they also leave a remnant of defense in that next round. So while defending Trophy, they had defenders in Aviation, they had defenders inside of that gun vault. They were holding the previous site ever so lightly. And they're doing the same thing here. After successfully defending Trophy, they're still going to have players in Trophy, but there goes one of them. Bibu through the wall to Rise, and that's 2-0 in Rise's favor in that engagement so far through this match. And a good lead already for Millenium. But it's taken so much time. I mean, it's a deceptively long play for Millenium, and they are going to get another kill for it, so that's very important. They put themselves in a great position to win this round. The collapse onto Trophy was excellent this time around.
And you can see they're circling the wagons as Zephyr trying to get away as much as possible. I don't know how Liven missed that shot, but a great angle being held here from Zephyr. That Vector will just rip right through the Capitao. First kill for Vitality will come out, but Aces is able to take out Spark as his cover totally blown to pieces by the skeleton key of Rise. Best round for Millenium thus far, 40 seconds to go, and still far from certain that Millenium will be able to walk away successfully here, but in pretty good position. The double anchors of Vitality and Zephyr and Brede are last two left, but Zephyr is definitely not playing like an anchor nor support role. You got the Mira just continuously wandering, possibly trying to retake towards site, and doing a bit of remodeling with that secondary shotgun as the first Toxic Babe from Brede will get tossed out. Waiting on the stairs here is Aces. Oh no, Zephyr missing all of his shots, and that was an easy kill for him. But unfortunately with him, then you see another fall as a great round from Millenium just takes out Vitality, and Millenium puts their first round on the board.
Yeah, and they looked very formidable in that round. A big part of it was the fact that they were allowed to collapse onto the roamers who were playing by the Trophy statuary rooms. Those were ill-advised roam positions, seemingly. I think a big part of that was the fact that they could not hold on to Astronomy, and with a lack of Astronomy held, it was a pretty easy crossfire for Vitality, or rather, Millenium, pardon me.
So overall, I mean, I can't believe the whiff on those shots from Zephyr on that Mira. Just not great to find themselves in that position. When you're on the bottom of the stairs, you know there's somebody there. He's crouch walking and not moving particularly quickly, and you still cannot capitalize on that. That's a rough blow for Vitality. But I mean, it probably wouldn't have mattered too much because then the smoke on site of Brede was still still picked off, and
attackers need to locate.
What ends up happening? Well, you have to retake in a 1v3.
So, back to the defense of Aviator. As it seems we have gone full circle for Vitality. They only lost on the butt end on that kitchen defense, which is considered, I guess, by most to be the off site. You know, the top floor sites, though, have been bearing great fruit for Vitality thus far. And if they can continue that, they will be ending this half decisively in their favor. A big part of it has been the roamers for Vitality, which has been troublesome, to say the least, in terms of how Millenium has been handling it. Aces, early kill onto Bibu. That's the second round in a row that Bibu will be eliminated without being able to fight back, thanks to a random spray through a wall.
So Bibu just, unfortunately for Vitality, one of their best players by far, and one of the best players in all of France. Very aggressive, usually quite calculated and doesn't routinely miss his shots. He's been paying for it, and the rest of his team has been paying for it too, with him being the opening death a couple rounds in a row here now. It's really given a lot of breathing room to Millenium, not just being able to take out a roamer, which means that you can push towards the site a little bit more securely, but more importantly that you've taken somebody who happens to be pretty darn good at the game also out of action. So Millenium will continue their entry, main stairs, heading towards study and continue to do this drone work as we've done a complete site rotation, and we see an Aviator Games defense yet again. And of course, Mira is going to be a pretty important part of it. Gets droned down and says hello for just a second here, as Rafael will finish off that drone. That is a very strange place for the Mira to be playing. Now, mind you, just being able to pop up from behind that deployable shield, you could possibly go for a pick or two. But instead, Millenium will turn their sights towards the games side of things. Much faster for that exothermic charge to go off. First 90 seconds and you see the wall get opened up into games as you had Rise just watching all the way down to 90 to ensure that there would be no counter pressure from Vitality.
The fact that Millenium was able to open up that wall and they had not gotten full control over 90 was very impressive. Spark will get Hicks, but Rise able to refrag, so the Roamer's not going to run amok. And Millenium will keep this in their favor. They also have tons of time to work with, a whole minute and the man advantage, as they just eye up the site now, knowing that it's very likely most of the Vitality players are still anchored there. However, Zephyr is still in a flanking position, and he's just biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity. Certainly the right call in this scenario, but he's going to have to gauge it right. Millenium managed to push in, but after getting Brid, wow, a narrow miss there for Inshiro onto Rafael, who will be lit up, and he will just watch the flank, and Aces gets the final kill. Millenium, a decisive win in their favor.
I don't know what the smoke of Vitality was thinking there as he decided to go cross-court around the main door.
Yeah, really an ill-advised peek.
Presuming that there's going to be at least one person there. I'm sure Rafael was feeding the information, or Zephyr rather, in the Legion. And I mean, even then, having the Legion so disconnected from the rest of the site, we got to see that as the Legion died with him, he took down 4 goo traps. Now, might not be the biggest help to a team, but that's 4 little jars of damage that do 10 damage and slow you down that you don't get to use at all. That can cut down on Millenium being able to just walk right into the site, and having your Legion play that far off site, you got to question the usage of that utility. Because Kitchen didn't go in favor of Vitality, it opened up Aviator, and well, we'll head back to Aviator because that time around they don't have to worry about the site being locked. They'll bring out a Clash and see what we can get with a Clash on defense here. Some teams really knowing how to use her well. A good example of that was from 2 or 3 weeks ago with Pain, the way that they were able to use the Clash to really try and fluster the attackers. It really depends on whether you keep the Clash heavily guarded on site so that by the time you have to follow through with your execute, you've got a shield in your way that'll slow you down and you don't have enough utility in order to knock the shield off of her and get the kill.
She's been a formidable operator, that's for sure, for a lot of teams. Just so much information you can gather, and you can rotate in the middle of the site without worrying about being killed easily. Definitely a mistake that was made by Vitality in that previous round was the rotation of the smoke. Bad timing, it does happen. Another thing to note though is these last 2 rounds that Millenium have managed to win, Bibu he just hasn't been playing. He has not been playing these last 2 rounds, and it's not his fault. That's the crazy thing. He's just been getting shot through walls randomly. And yeah, I guess you could blame him for exposing himself to those angles where he could just be a little bit safer in the future. But it's still worth noting that one of the more fragger-oriented players on Vitality has been out of the equation. So now that it seems he's not going to die in the first minute, we'll see if that changes the way this round plays out. It is the very last round of the first half, which means the winner here will end the half victorious and put themselves in a great position moving forward.
I mean, not so much that Bibu has been the opening death every time. That's really not the bigger issue here. The thing for me is that Vitality haven't been using him to fight for trades. Bibu's been dying, and then that's been it. There hasn't been any follow-up whatsoever, and I think it's a bit of a disconnected roam, because it's like Bibu dies, and what else is there?
Yeah, but he's dying to a spray from outside. Like in the last round, he died to a guy spraying through a wall from spawn. I mean, how are you gonna refrag that?
Well, I mean, you don't need to refrag that in particular. There were 2 times where he did get droned out earlier on and got killed. And that is part of the problem, is that whatever reason that they're using Bibu in such a way, it's so disconnected from the rest of the play because there's no coverage, whether it's a lucky spray or not.
I agree, but I mean, in those 2 rounds, they also won. So I don't know. You know, I think Bibu needs to be factored into the way they play a little bit better. But I mean, we'll see. He did manage to do a lot of work last time Millenium went to for this Thermite, and he was still in play. Bandit tricking it and keeping his team alive in the round. We'll see if he's able to do it again. This time, there's aces on the Hibana to back up the Thermite charge. But there is also a Thatcher, of course, to deal with those Bandit batteries.
Those were both asphyxiating bolts that sounded like they just got used on Zafir, and both of them failed to do even the smallest bit of damage to the Clash. But
what?
This is a freebie. Renshiro just walks right up and Bibu is gone. He'll be the opening death, but it's going to take 2 minutes and 20 seconds as the rest of Millenium now in prime position to open the rest of the site up. And there you have it. Hicks trying to get this exothermic charge off. Looks like it got impact tricked. Is there going to be a second? No, the wall will finally pop open, and Millenium, like sharks in the water, they're just going to continue to circle. Lots of pings going out, and from behind this game bar, you can see that Renshiro trying for another. You've also got Rafal there. He'll pop right up. Bride and Rafal jumping in to get a kill onto Rise to equalize at 4v4, and Millenium, who were just victims of poor time management before, looks like they might be repeating that same mistake. Liven with 1, picks up a second. Bride 2 for himself. Hicks gets into the action as well, and Zafir is the only member of Vitality, but they will hang on as no defuse possible from Millenium. A bit of frustration, and Vitality will walk out of that first half with 3 of the 5 rounds.
Yeah, that's not a great ending there for Millenium. They were looking pretty lethal when they went to the actual push, but thanks to Clash being such a formidable operator, he was just able to keep himself alive and run out the clock. Great job to him, and great job to Vitality holding on to that round. Now, it's going to be a Living Room Library as the first defense for Millenium. Kind of interesting. This is considered to be the most off of this site, the least played. But you know, the meta is far from fully established on this map. So it's not that weird to see something like this happen. And I can't say it's a bad call from Millenium.
I want to say that we saw this site.
We have seen it a couple times.
From Millenium at DreamHack Montreal? No, it doesn't actually look like they played it, no.
We also...
Oh, yes, it did. They did. They played it once. They played it once and they won it. So they have played it before. And I mean, it seems to be something that is in keeping with both of these teams. I mean, Vitality oftentimes will jump straight into going to bathroom tellers on border as well. Both of these teams like to run every site on every single map. And I think it's important that they have that flexibility, and it seems to work out quite well. Now, the bigger issue for Millenium is now you are facing off against a Vitality attack. Over the last couple weeks, Vitality seems to endeavor to have gotten a bit faster at their executes and getting into the site. That's a noble attempt, but at the same time, you still have Vitality's tried and true drone many, many times. And unfortunately, we have been removed from the match. So we're going to come back to us for just a second here before we can head back in. So hello, nice to see you. I want to see how that round is going to play out in particular.
Me too.
Library and Living Room is going to be quite interesting. Now, for Vitality, as I was trying to touch on before we were kicked out, the way that Vitality plays, if you're new to Rainbow Six Siege, is they play one of the most odd and slowest and information gathered type of attack. They will drone you repeatedly, and it was Meepy who actually put it quite well. You're sitting and you're holding an angle. You get droned once. You figure you're going to get pushed. You get droned a second time. Okay, now I'm going to get pushed. You get droned a third time. Where am I going to get pushed from? Fourth time you get droned, and the drone will continue on by, and you'll think to yourself, what is going on? And next thing you know, you move an inch, and there's 2 sites trained right on you, and you're dead. And that's how Vitality will play this style of game. It's very slow. It oftentimes will hurt them in terms of clock management and if a team can break them apart. And they're not always the most poised for unexpected aggressive plays from the defenders when they are on attack because they are typically so methodical.
Yeah, but as we've touched on, they have been shifting away from that mentality, trying to come into what is considered more the standard meta these days, which is strategy, yes, but adaptability above all else. That's what most teams have been leaning towards, and of course they're following the example of G2, which is the team that tends to set the meta, not only in Europe, but also internationally. Now, that transition is going to change a lot of things about Vitality, and that's what makes this match so very interesting. And whether or not it is a conscious transition, whether or not they're trying to do it deliberately, that's really something, another thing that comes into question, because while they have been speeding up a lot of their play, it's not necessarily apparent whether or not they intend it that way, or if they're just becoming more efficient in what they already know.
So, it looks like we're all back in, and first kill is going to come out to Rafael, with Renshiro also gone. So, hey, look, only 30 seconds to go, and would you look at that? Most people still alive. Can you tell it's a Vitality match? Maybe struggling to try and figure out how to get into this site, as Vitality is very, very close. They are flirting with the idea of being able to rush in. Smoke going down, and so will the defuse, as a great flank from Rafael, as he'll just wander right in. Liven will blow Rafael out. That means that the diffuser will go off, and Zafir will now be the one to have to plant. Rise with the shotgun, also in very good position to play a possible tight angle here. But the man up is Bibu, and there you go. Down from Rise, and even on time. Bibu doing a great job, but diffuser is down. Aces pulls out the Deagle, and Millenium will be able to punch back. So both of these teams struggling to get the diffuser down quickly, being the victim of that time management. Dreaded time management. We're all tied up at 3 apiece.
Yeah, but this is as close as I think a lot of people were expecting the match would be. Of course, I believe it was a 41-49 community vote, if I'm not mistaken, in favor of Millenium, but about as close as it gets in this scenario. Aviator, the next site for Millenium, which is typically considered the primary bomb site. One thing to note from that last round for me was that Vitality, their attack strategy was sound onto that site. If you can isolate the main hallway, and you just open up that wall next to Library, you've got a great position to plant the diffuser, and what is going to likely quickly become the default position or the call by that reception desk. However, Millenium had a lot of tools that were perfectly placed to counter that default plant spot, and unfortunately there was some poor play from Bibu, he did manage to get the kills in that round. However, he also did manage to let that counter plant slip by, as it was his job to watch it. That is a bit of an oversight. Now, as we go up to Aviator and the games room, Millenium and Vitality both looking like they could win this match. Neither going to be breaking away with it. Not like what we saw in the Mocket Penta match just prior.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, both these teams proving that they're quite evenly matched. And I mean, the one thing with Vitality is that
Attackers recover the diffuser.
as much as their style of play might be unique and interesting in comparison to others, the more that you play against it, the more prepared you are. I mean, there's a reason why Vitality typically flourishes when they play against non-EU based teams. It's very similar to when Latin American teams play against non-Latin America teams, is that unless you are regularly scrimming and playing LATAM teams, you don't really understand. It was a comment that was made at DreamHack Montreal by both Secret as well as Noble when they were playing against Boot Camp, is that you don't expect one person to be droned in with 3 drones, especially if it's an Ashe, who's not really missing their shots. Speaking of missing their shots, Hicks having a bit of difficulty there as he'll get droned out by Bibu playing on, Hicks playing on that Clash just by the main stairs. So Vitality will make study their priority. They have double hard breach capabilities in both the Thermite as well as the Hibana, and then lots of fragging power, as they're backed up by the Thermite, the Thatcher, the Zofia, and the Blackbeard, in addition to Bibu's Hibana. So, across the board, not as much utility heavy for Vitality, but they'll be able to get the kills if need be. This speaks to their lineup. A lot of times Vitality will often forego utility because they set themselves up in a position where they can just kind of push in once they've got what they need from the site. based around the hard breach potential.
Spark's on the right position for Blackbeard. He's going to be able to deny 90, which is a great thing to do. It allows your team to make a push into the hallway with relative ease. Even if there are mirror windows looking into study, you can still make this transition happen. But Spark's great position will be dealt with by Rise. Great job to the Jaeger, and that's going to allow Clash to push into the hallway, which is putting Bibu in a really bad spot. Clash is going to be able to slow down Bibu and do a lot of damage using the Buzz, and just going to force Vitality to slow down their push a little bit.
You saw that it looked like Vitality was almost going to double up there trying to take out Hicks, but wisely they backed off knowing that it was the two hard breachers. Can't really have both Rafael as well as Bibu trying to chase down an errant Hicks, just in case there's somebody else there to possibly take the engagement. Double flashes going out to blind Hicks, but he will find the safety of the site as he's just going to continue to go around. Renshiro, what a big miss. That could have been a beautiful C4, taking out both members of Vitality. But more than anything, what's going to take out is about 10 to 15 seconds from the clock. This Clash still being a major impediment. Rise on the flank could have a wonderful opportunity here. Zafir will just sprint in and go for broke. He's going to get lit up by Aces. And now as they're trying to get the exothermic charge, Rise a double kill as he takes out Bibu and Rafal. And Liven on the flank as well. It's all up to Bride, who will come in contact with the Clash. Shield still up. And it will be Aces credited with that final kill. Millenium just simply causing problem after problem for Vitality, and that Clash, more than anything, being the biggest obstacle Vitality had no answer for.
Yeah, so that round, without question, was all the Clash. Being able to deny the thermite plant on the wall towards the bar was pretty much the single reason that was a success for Millenium. I mean, if it weren't for that, very likely would have been an easy push for Vitality. Now, there were some great flanks from the rest of Millenium, so it was teamwork, but they were pivoting around the Clash. So having that rock to lean on is such a powerful thing, and they certainly used it properly. Now that they have the lead, they are going to go to the dining room kitchen as their next site. So they're actually going to avoid trophy. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, kitchen, like I said, usually you see Maestro being a very important part of it. Well, there you go. Look at that. You've got a Maestro coming out with a Mira. This was a strat that Vitality forewent when they defended on kitchen. Said they just brought out the singular Mira. And in fact, that singular Mira was playing a roam style of play. Here's something that I like about this site when Millenium plays it, and if you have a good ear, you can pick up on it very quickly. Rise running the Ella shotgun. So, this is something that we saw in Montreal with this Villa play from Millenium. Usually, Rise will situate himself on a staircase with his Gajmat mines, trying to slow down the attackers,
10 seconds
and then he'll just dive right in and blow you wide open with that shotgun. So, he says the Scorpion's a pretty good gun, okay. I think it's pretty rare to see Ellas with the shotgun. It's a very good shotgun, an auto shotty for those that are uninitiated. As well, we saw some great precision from Renshiro there, putting down the half Mira on half soft and half hard wall. This is one of the other benefits of having kitchen, is that you can place the Mira so that part of it is on the soft wall. I'm interested to see how Vitality is going to be able to deal with this, because if they can't dislodge Rise, he's just going to continuously run circles around this team, as we've seen on a couple different times that they've played on Vitality here. Spark posted up on the window, just looking in towards Pantry, sends in some supporting fire. Rise actually might go for the run out here. This is a pretty hairy spot for him. He's going to wait to try and see if he can get a read from either the Valkyrie camera or an Evil Eye as to how he's going to play this.
It's a tricky angle where Spark is positioned. I think there might be a little chimney that's actually going to block the line of sight for the Ella should he run out. But you might still be able to land the shot. And he's going to play it slow. I think it's the right call for Rise to just not right this minute. It's a little early in the round. He could still do a lot of work. And he's going to hold firm up in Master. He will down the Habana and secure the kill onto Bibu. Caught in the rotation, he's going to catch his sister. That's the Zofia. Brid goes down, and Rise is doing a lot of work. Oh, almost a triple for Rise, but Ace is there to support him. And Millenium have taken full control of this round. Rise eating a lot of damage, but I mean, he dished out so much more than he was given. And Vitality are going to have to recover hard if they want to win this.
Spark has entered into Ryze's playground here now. Ryze could have possibly gone for a reset if they had the appropriate amount of time. It's only about 5 HP sitting on Ryze as he's inside of the master bathroom. He's got the reinforced wall that prevents him from fighting Spark as the Blackbeard tries to lumber his way out of that tight confine. He's going to have to try to find the roamers while Rafal focuses on the site. But Spark will fall off and try to give maybe some help to his teammate. A good C4 gets tossed out from the Valkyrie, but they're just going to wait. And a bit of frustration there from Liven, or Super Liven, as that C4 doesn't really do what he wanted it to do. There was a lot of time that was burned away from that rotate from the Blackbeard, and even though they've opened up some of the wall, it's all up to Rafal and Spark to be able to make this happen. In a 2v5, it's a daunting task. Liven just creeping underneath this open hole and could possibly be able to jump up and get a kill. He doesn't have a nitro cell available. Hicks is going to be able to get the 1 kill, and then Liven just misses on the Blackbeard. That's Diffuser down, though, and this round is all but over unless we can see some heroics from Sparks. His shield will break, and Hicks will be credited with the double kill. 2 for Ryze and 1 for Aces. Nice overall effort, and it's now match point for Millenium.
They've been looking pretty good here in the second half. They haven't yet to lose a defensive round, and they can go back to Library or they can go to Trophy. I mean, they have a lot of great options here as they move on to match point. And there's still potential for Vitality to recover this, but based on how Millennium's been holding the defense, it does not look like they're going to be able to. I will say that Vitality's defenses were not nearly as one-sided as these appear to be.
No, this has just been... I don't know if Vitality is just failing to adapt to Millennium playing very aggressively themselves, because Millennium is committing 2 to 3 roamers every single round, oftentimes connected with one another, as we saw from both Ryze and Aces there playing together. And you haven't really needed to see what happens on site. In fact, the closest that we got to a full-fledged execute happened in the very first round on Library and Living Room downstairs, and it was thwarted by Millennium every single time that Vitality tried to get that diffuser down. We'll head to Statuary and Trophy, which means that through 4 rounds on defense, Millennium will have played every single one of them. This is what we come to expect from Millennium. They usually have a very good, diverse amount of play on every single site. We also saw it on Consulate in Montreal, where they went to every single site on Consulate. In fact, we're the first team to run that Archives Tellers site downstairs and on the main floor, which had just been added to Consulate in a previous patch.
Interesting setup here from Millennium. They're going to be using some castle barricades and a shield to make a little bit of a corner, an artificially established corner, and have rotation holes allowing for a safe passage back to the site should the position not work out. But clearly an aggressive hold strategy on the Master in the Master Closet. Very dangerous for Millennium. Exposed, but could potentially trip up Vitality if they're not prepared. Question is, though, will Vitality be pushing from a Master, or are they simply going to clear from the south, as many other teams choose to do these days?
I really like what we're seeing here. This is reminiscent of a hold inside a CCTV or security inside a border, where you have the frost positioned so that if you try to vault in through one of those windows, you have one option. Or, well, you have 2 options and you have to pick one of them. Shoot the frost man underneath you, or shoot the frost that's waiting to kill you.
Yeah, the setup here for Millennium is very reliant on that, and it will, if anything, if nothing else, it will just slow down the push into Master. However, seemingly, Vitality has chosen to take from the south, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm not sure if they read the scenario there and just said, hey, that's not fun, or if they, from the get-go decided, hey, we want to take from the south side. This strategy is definitely very viable. Evil Eye will go down just in Statuary, and Super Liven will get the C4 on Spark from below. So that is a great C4 there, pre-placed in all likelihood. But on 90, typical position for the attackers to try and take control of. A very powerful position at that, and the fact that Liven's able to deny that is excellent for his team.
And taking care of all those X-Karos, that looks like it'll be the castle barricade that will stay in place, not lose much of its integrity. You've still got the frost there as well, and with Ryze supporting inside of the closet, this is going to be a very tricky situation for Vitality to be able to get in. Liven just missing enough shots to take out Zephyr, and that will be the Thatcher walking away with the victory on that one. Also, for the second round in a row, Ryze running that shotgun. So, a good opportunity for him to possibly take a fight in close quarters. Just tapping away as Renshiro through that open barricade. This is match point in favor of Millenium, and they started things off early with that spark kill. Zafir almost going down, but you've got Liven who's going to be doing all of the cam duty that they need in the dying seconds of this round.
Yeah. Speaking of dying seconds, Vitality don't have a lot of time. And they don't also have a good position for this push. They're going to set up for Statuary, but Rafael's going to eat a lot of damage from Renshiro's Frost. Long range using that SMG well, but finally his castle barricade cover will be taken out by the Zofia, and because of that, the angle play is poor. Zafir able to get Renshiro despite how little HP he has. Now the Jaeger inside of Master Closet, not very versatile with that pistol in hand. He was hoping for pressure from the Master, but it's not going to happen. Hicks a double kill, easy spray onto the entry to the site. Bibu gets aces though, as Hicks manages to down Bibu. It's a 1 versus 2, right against a wall, and it's going to be Hicks to take him down. A 4K for the Maestro, and Millenium take it 6-3.
What a great performance. Once again, that Alda of Maestro. Man, what a gun. Effortlessly chews through 2 members of Vitality. And Villa goes in favor of Millenium. This was a big win for Millenium as they're still trying to hang towards that spot in the playoffs. They really needed it, but more than anything, Vitality's leaving a lot of points on the table here. They are not that far off from having to defend their spot in Pro League and relegations, and they're not going to make it easier on each other as they don't even get 1 point.
Yeah, they were but 2 rounds away from securing those, well, that 1 point, as opposed to nothing, but Millenium are going to lock it out. Well done to them, truly, and they seemed very well practiced on Villa. I absolutely love that defense of the trophy.